Hello, my name is Brandon Navarrete, and I'm going to be walking through 4 different software development models. First, we'll look at Waterfall, then we'll look at Spiral, RUP, and Agile, which is one that I work with most commonly. Each of these approaches have a different way of managing projects, especially when it comes to risk management and flexibility. I'll briefly cover what each model is, its strengths and weaknesses, and where it's most commonly used. The goal is to understand not just how they work, but when to choose one over the other. Let's get into Waterfall. So, according to our text, Waterfall is one of the older software development models, dating back to the 1970s. It follows a very strict linear process, which must be completed before moving on to the next step. So this includes things like requirements, design, development, testing, and deployment. Everything is planned up front, which makes it very structured, but it's also very rigid. So if your project requirements or project scope changes down the road, it takes a lot of refactor work. Let's look at some of the strengths. So the main strength of Waterfall is its clarity and its structure. Each phase is clearly defined, which makes it super easy to manage and to track progress. It also produces very strong deliverables or artifacts, which is very useful in regulated environments. Because everything is planned up front, timelines and expectations are usually predictable. But because of this structuredness, that kind of also leads into the weaknesses. So the biggest weakness is flexibility. If requirements change or if your scope changes in the middle of the project, it is very difficult to adapt without redoing a lot of work. Another issue is that you don't see a working product until late into the process, which increases the risk of finding a big issue at the very end. This kind of makes it less suitable for projects which require innovation or often getting feedback from the customer. Waterfall works best when requirements are clearly defined and they're unlikely to change. This kind of pushes me to the idea that you would most likely see this in industries like government or healthcare, where documentation and processes are important, and we might even find many established legacy systems that have long-standing procedures. And here are some of my sources for material outside of our textbook. Overall, each model has its place. The best model depends on your team. How stable are your requirements? How risk adverse are you? How flexible does your project need to be? Thank you for your time.